Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Prime Minister Modi held a phone conversation with Nepal's interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki, and during the call, he extended condolences over the recent loss of lives in the protests and assured India's support to Nepal's efforts to restore peace and stability. The Prime Minister also congratulated Sushila Karki on her appointment as interim Prime Minister and conveyed his best wishes on behalf of the people of India, while also sending greetings ahead of Nepal's National Day. In response, Karki expressed gratitude for India's support and reiterated her commitment to strengthening bilateral ties. Well, ever since Sushila Karki has taken over as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, signs of calm have started returning to the country. The streets have gotten back to normal after days of intense anti-corruption protests that had swept through the capital and several other cities. Daily life resumed in most parts of the country as curfew restrictions were eased and the presence of troops on the streets was also reduced. Well, both the leaders have immense respect for each other. In fact, the Nepalese Prime Minister Sushila Karki had earlier said that she has huge respect for Prime Minister Modi. And the question that comes up is, what does Karki's leadership mean for the India-Nepal ties? Are they now starting on a new chapter? Are things going to change? That's exactly what we will discuss in the next half an hour with our guests and some of the people who understand this ecosystem. Ambassador S.D. Muni, former diplomat, with us on the program. Major General G.G. Dwivedi, global and strategic defense expert, with us on the show. Mr. Naveen Tiwari, political analyst, is joining us from Nepal. And last but not the least, Pathikrit Pine, foreign affairs expert, joins us on the show as well. General Dwivedi, I will begin with you. Well, are India and Nepal going to be turning a new leaf? You know, there have been some problems that both the countries have faced with each other, especially, and I'll specify this, under the leadership of the last Prime Minister, which is K.P. Sharma Oli. There was a lot of friction between these two countries, and of course, India's objection to the insurmountable influence of China and Nepal was also becoming a bone of contention. How is that going to be navigated now, sir?
Well, first and foremost, I think India and Nepal relations are very important because Nepal is a very important neighbor of India. And our ties have been historic, cultural, and military ties also have been very strong. Ironically, during K.P. Oli Sharma's time, our relations did take a strain, and also certain amount of friction developed, primarily because K.P. Oli Sharma was heavily leaning toward China, and Chinese always exploit such situations. So therefore, Chinese shadow was looming large in Nepal in number of ways. One was the economic ties, then the Chinese influence in the major projects that were actually being undertaken in Nepal, especially the railway lines which are being extended from Shagaze right up into Nepal, and also the military ties as well. So I think that was not a very positive sign, and to some extent, I think one or two issues also did impact, because one was the Agnipath scheme, which did not go well with the Nepalese military, because we have about 40,000 Nepalese soldiers serving in the Indian Army, so that didn't go well. That also contributed. But the point I'm trying to say is that our relations definitely tumbled down, and now is the time to get it back on the track, because with the new government coming and with the interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki in place, I think there's now it will definitely move towards a better phase, or as you rightly called it, a new chapter, because fundamentally our relations are very sound and strong, and we are deeply linked, like a symbiotic relationship is there. But I would like to caution two, three important things. Today, nation doesn't want to be dealt like elder brother or younger brother. We need to be very much on equal footing and understand each other's sensitivities. While we understand the sensitivity of Nepal, also correspondingly, they need to understand our sensitivity, especially when it comes to the proximity with China. And the second issue is that there should be no forces inimical to India's security which are operating from the Nepalese side, that need to be taken care of. And thirdly, I think we need to have actually now a very proactive diplomacy on both sides to ensure that the relationship are back on the track and we enjoy the bonhomie that always existed, but for a short period, Vineet.
Right, Ambassador Moni, India and Nepal have always had this porous border, and the relationship also, for the lack of a better word, sir, has been porous in the sense that there has been intrinsic trust between both these neighbors, which seem to be under the radar or under the lens for the last few years. Do you think that this new regime is an opportunity for both the countries, including India, to set the footing right and get going, a new tangent in this relationship?
Look, the India-Nepal relationship is a very long, very close, very special, and there has always been ups and downs in this relationship. It is not that we have had tensions with Oli's regime. We have had tensions earlier also. And this is also true that even with Oli, India, there was a time when India had very friendly, very cozy relationship. So, you should see this in terms of what you call really true neighbors who interact with each other, who are engaged with each other, who are concerned with each other, and their relations will always show some ups and downs. So we must keep this in mind. Now, present government in Nepal is an interim government. We must understand that, which is meant only to be in office for 6 months. And this government has a very specific agenda. The agenda is to bring corrupt leaders to the book, to bring the culprits of the 2 days mayhem in Nepal to the book, and hold elections for the next parliament. The Nepal policy for India would really be defined by the new parliament, which comes into force after 6 months in March, April, sometimes that. So that is another thing we must keep it in background. But Sushila Karki's government is facing great challenges, and the only source from where they can support extensive, they can expect extensive support, economical, political, administrative, in any other respect, is India, because there has been no other country which come forward. We have, for instance, helped Sri Lanka with $4 billion when they were in an economic crisis. Uh, this is time when Nepal is looking towards us. Most of their big institutions have been destroyed. They will have to be rebuilt. And Mrs. Karki may face challenges of different types in bringing out or in pursuing her agenda, that is of holding the elections. We must ensure that peace stays there, stability stays there, and free and fair elections are held so the Nepali people can express their right opinion and choose their government, which is supposedly more honest, more forward-looking, more efficient, and looks at the interest of the people than the interest of the leadership. So I think this is a kind of a cautious period. We must wait and watch, and we must ready to expend any assistance which Nepalese want out of us. And this conversation between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Karki is a very positive first step, and we should look forward to it that it yields desirable results.
Pathikrit, what are your reservations when it comes to this relationship? Will anything change, especially with the China influence over Nepal, or do you think that considering that Gen Z wants change, Nepal is going to do anything and everything possible to bring about that change, but that change is not possible without the help of India, is it now?
Well, Vineet, at the people-to-people level, India and Nepal always had great relationship. As has been mentioned earlier, there are deep cultural, economic, civilizational, historical, connect between these two countries. Even today, you have a large number of cross-border marriages which happen. So for India, it is extremely important to have a stable neighborhood, and that is probably for me the most important priority for Nepal. Whatever has happened in Nepal, well, it is the wish and choice of people of Nepal, and we respect that. But this is the time, the next 6 months of or 1 year, this is the most probably vulnerable time for Nepal because stabilization of the economy, stabilization of law and order, and bringing back trust in the government is of paramount importance. We have to remember that a lot of critical infrastructures have been destroyed. Revival of tourism might be a major challenge, and therefore there can be problems when it comes to foreign exchange reserve. And if there is instability in Nepal, it may create opportunity for many other elements which are inimical to both India and Nepal, spawn in those places. And therefore, I think the most important priority for India right now is not to address some of the issues probably which have existed for a long time. They can be sorted out later between countries. Such issues often remain. But the most important thing is to ensure, just to ensure that while it will be entirely up to people of Nepal to decide how they govern their country, if there are challenges the country faces, then India is there to help them out. Otherwise, what happens? We have seen many countries who initially thought that there is a major change they would bring in by a regime change, but eventually they have been completely sunk into major crisis. And we do not want such crisis to happen in a country like Nepal. Yes, there would be new people who would be in the government. Many of them would be young generation. But sometimes, if it is required, I think India would be ready to give them assistance on issues of governance, on issues of sharing of technology, on issues of sharing of welfare schemes that have helped India to leapfrog from the 11th largest to the 4th largest economy, or such measures which have helped India to bring out almost 27 crore people out of multidimensional poverty. So that is the most important thing. At the same time, yes, Nepal is an independent sovereign country. They have the right to decide whoever they want to have relation with. But I think it is in mutual interest of both the countries that nothing is done which is inimical to this relationship, and that is always that India has asked Nepal for. And I think Nepalese people are extremely patriotic themselves. They also know that India and Nepal relation, even from the economic point of view, a large number of people of Nepal work in India. They are hugely respected. There is a lot of trust in India when it comes to people of Nepal, and I'm sure there will not be anything allowed to be done in Nepal which will harm that relationship. So these are sensitive times, and that's why these communications should remain. And I'm sure Prime Minister has only whatever he has communicated would be about ensuring that India is all out there to help them out as and when they require any help. I don't think pertinent, critical, or contentious issues will be raised right now, because it's a very difficult phase for Nepal, and we have to be like a brother, stand beside them. Back to you.
Mr. Naveen Tiwari, political analyst, with us on the program as well. Mr. Tiwari, I hope you can hear me. Mr. Naveen Tiwari, I hope you can hear me.
So, are you getting me, sir?
Yes, yes. So, what are the expectations, do you think, that this new regime in Nepal has of India?
So, actually, in regard to this interim government, we don't have much bigger expectations since it is going to last for 6 months. The election is already declared. So, we don't have any such higher issues with regard to this government. The only thing is that in context of this interim government, the first and foremost thing is whosoever ascend the throne, this premiership or this ministry, they are supposed to act in a balanced way in regard to our neighbors and also other foreign countries. The first thing. Secondly, what I realize is that especially this government, it is just established out of the people's rebellion there. So we do not have higher expectations. The only thing is that it is supposed to conduct the election within that stipulated time and ensure that the constitution lasts. It would not get a failure. That is the second manifesto, second agenda. And the next thing is in regard to this India, I have been just telling from the beginning that like I have seen many of these communists, especially these people belonging to this communist party, they would just say they just boil up whenever they hear the name India. But the thing is, what I have known is that no matter how much detest we make in regard to this India, still it is our neighbor country and there is no way out except to live peacefully with India. So the best thing is if our government does anything else, just to ensure that we live in peace and harmony, and if we do not do any of the activities, that would not just harm the interests of India, and meanwhile we are serving the interests of Nepal. This is what I just feel, But the thing is, so far as every of these political parties, they have their own this political agenda, And the next thing is there are even foreign relations that differs from this leaders to leaders. So we do not have any specific defined foreign policy. So it is out of this complication. We are just having hardship in dealing with the issues related to our neighboring countries or any of the other countries. So especially in regard to this India, we have a higher dependency and we have been acting like brothers since these ages. So the best thing is if our government does anything else that doesn't serve the interest of India, or if it does anything else against the will of Nepalese people, that would be quite fatal one. So the best thing what we do is we urge Indian government just to support this government, interim government, just to make sure that there would not be any disturbance in our this existing system and the constitution would last. This is just what I feel, and I do not expect like this the government would be doing something higher. So the best thing is if the government administration of India, if it just works on behalf of Nepal and Nepalese, then it would be really serving the interests of both of these factors.
General Dwivedi, this is obviously, like I said, a new beginning for both the nations. But the fact of the matter is that the Americans are in Bangladesh at this point in time. I was reading an article that the American army is extremely active in Bangladesh at this point in time. China too has been eyeing Nepal and a number of its strategic points, to have a vantage point over India. Is that something that India needs to take up with Nepal now that there is an opportunity or a window where all these sensitive strategic matters can be addressed?
Well, Vineet, you're absolutely right that a lot of foreign forces are operating in South Asia. You're right, Bangladesh, the Americans are there in big way, especially the military. The Americans are in big way in Pakistan. And of course, Chinese always made deep inroads into Bangladesh, Myanmar, and of course Nepal. I like to only point out three, four important things. First and foremost, Vinith, it's a very sensitive and vulnerable time for Nepal, and the foremost priority is stability, so that some inimical forces should not cause further, damage to its environment. So that is point number one. To that extent, India can play good major role to ensure that we do a helping hand, we hold the hand, and we create the kind of goodwill among the people of Nepal. So all our action should be people driven. That's point number one. Point number two is that we need to have a conversation and dialogue. That's the only way forward. Ironically, it was not happening with the previous government. So this gives an opportunity while the government may be interim, but the channels must open out and that goodwill must come back, because without the goodwill, without the trust with each other, things will not move forward. And my third point is, while we are extending helping hand, while we are also sharing our concern, but we should not be seen as someone or as a nation. We are trying to overstep and the toes of the Nepalese people. They need to decide which government they want. That is entirely their choice. But we must ensure that while Nepal is limping back to normalcy, it's limping back to stability, we do our bit, in fact, go beyond to ensure that at the end of the day, our actions are people driven and the goodwill is created. Once that is done, I think rest of the thing fall in place. But yes, our security concerns are very paramount, considering that both the big powers are actually in a big way into the region, and which is not very favorable to our security interest. We need.
Pathikrit, same question for you, taking a leaf out of what General Dwivedi also said, that there are a lot of outside forces in the subcontinent. Can India do something in terms of its conversation with Nepal in lieu of that predicament?
Look, there would always be these challenges, and we only hope, because we have seen many of the smaller countries fall in the trap of power games of bigger ones. We hope it doesn't happen in Nepal, but we have to understand one thing: Nepal right now is in a very critical juncture. They would require investments. Now, if suddenly investments come from China or anywhere else, they cannot say no to that. So we cannot, act as a school teacher and tell them what should be done and what should not be done. But yes, only thing is that, as has been mentioned by our friend from Nepal, that nothing should be done which is inimical to the interest of both Nepal and India. But at the same time, it is also important to understand that whatever happened in Nepal, that movement, they had large number of pressure groups. Now, each has different expectations from the government. So it is not possible for any government, whether the interim government or after election, whoever comes in, to fulfill all the demands in one go. And therefore, the challenges of a crisis re-emerging always remains very profound. And that is a time when other power centers try to exploit the situation. And that is why I said that for India, the topmost priority is to maintain political and economic and security stability of Nepal. Once that issue is taken care of, I think other issues will definitely get addressed. But right now, I think that is the most important priority. Back to you.
Ambassador Muni, what according to you is the priority right now between India and Nepal?
I think my friend Pen has also said that, Nepal has come out of a huge storm. The whole country stands totally shaken. The political establishment, not the order, has totally crumbled, and political system itself has been truncated because constitution is being implemented or being practiced only in half. The parliament is out, the rulers are out, the parties are so badly shaken. So look at it from the Kathmandu perspective, that Nepal is struggling to stabilize itself. The major priority is to stabilize itself and recoup the kind of damage which has been caused during this, while at the same time the challenge and danger of such destructive forces acting again and arising again from within Nepal, of course, sometimes with the help from the outside, is there. So we have to ensure that Nepal is somehow ensured peace and stability, and whatever we can do, let the Nepalese decide what kind of help they want from us. I must underline here one point. If we do anything by going out of the way or going beyond the expectations of the Nepalese, it may have a counterproductive effect, because India has an image in Nepal, and in this image there are many who don't like us. There are huge number of people who like us. So if any political dimension is interpreted rightly or wrongly without India intending it, then it would harm Nepal's stability rather than help it. So I think I can say is to repeat this, that we must ensure that Nepal gets stability to progress and come back on the rails, because the system has been totally shaken, stirred so much, so seriously. 74 people died in 2 days' time. The whole government crumbled in 2 days' time. More than 1,000 people were in the hospitals in 2 days' time. Crores of rupees, thousands of crores of rupees, property destroyed, national property destroyed, public property destroyed. Faith and confidence of each Nepali shaken as to what will happen in terms of their personal security, their property security, and their country's security. So we need to stand by Nepal and say, look, we are with you. You can fall back on us on whatever you want, whatever we are capable of, we will provide it to you. I think that is all we can do at this stage. There are other bigger issues which I think the time will come when we will have to address them also.
All right, fair enough. Well, we've run out of time. Appreciate everybody who joined in and weighed in on this important relationship that India has had with Nepal. We'll dip into a short break. Be right back.